Banky special.
Yeah.
Pure deliciousness.
Pure deliciousness, man. My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts. Shout out to everybody out there on Team Banky Pam, man. Much love, much respect. I appreciate you to the fullest. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Hope everybody's having a blessed Christmas. I hope everybody had a blessed Christmas if this video comes out after Christmas, which it probably will. So I hope you all had a blessed Christmas. I hope you all got everything you deserve, everything you desire. TBP, salute. We back in here again, man. I appreciate you. As of now, we're still tipping on 50K. So I know we're going to get there. So everybody just spread the word. Pass this energy around, this positive energy that we're trying to promote. And we're going to try to get this thing up and running in 2022. All the way up. So, you know, if you ain't subscribed, check your subscription. See if you subscribe. A lot of people watching, they not subscribed. Not because they don't want to, just because they haven't took the time to hit that button. So check your status, please. In it, by all means, please share these videos. Please make comments. I always check the comments, so I always will try to respond one way or another. So do all of that to help this movement keep moving forward, man. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to move forward in 2022. Where I go, you go. So let's get on the move, man. Salute. And also go check out my cooking channel, man. Banky Pam, Pure Deliciousness. Go over there if you want to cook that delicious food, man. You already know I whip it up in that kitchen. So y'all come over there and check me out if y'all rock with my cooking. I'm over there on Banky Pam YouTube channel, man. Pure Deliciousness. So go over there, subscribe to, and let's get everything moving in 2022. Right now we're gonna get into these 33 years of prison stories, man. This is something that I was talking to one of my partners about the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, and it just made me remember these characters right here. Oh man, these brothers, man, these three brothers, man, these Town brothers. Towns brothers, man. I think it was Towns, the Towns brothers. It was three of them. And I can remember when I first went into the wall in the late 80s, I can remember hearing their name, man. It was three of them, and they was, you know, known in there. They was raising ruckus up in there, you know, kicking up dust or whatnot. And it was three of them, man. It was Lorenzo, Dennis, and William, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, they was from like Mecklenburg County, you know, out there, some old country boys, man. And all of them was diesel, man. I mean, like big, strong. But the one they called Hercules, man, that was Lorenzo. This cat here, yeah, he was ripped to shreds, man. I mean, big everywhere, strong, mean, crazy. When I tell you crazy, I mean crazy. I get into a little bit of that later on, but the first one that I ended up meeting myself, I never really met Dennis personally. I heard a lot about Dennis. William. I never really met William personally, so I can't really say a whole lot about him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was the oldest one, you know, out of the three. But it's just amazing right there. That just let you know how, you know, that culture be, man. You know, see, we follow that culture and we do that get caught up in that craziness, that street life. It just so happens just three brothers end up in prison at the same time. Can you imagine the feeling of their parents, man? You know, just to have that. That's amazing in itself. And over the years, I've ran into a lot of brothers in prison together. Twins, as I've told y'all, a lot of brothers. I've ran into a lot of father sons. You know, I've even ran into grandfathers and grandsons, you know, which is sad in itself. You know, we got to break that cycle. You know, we definitely got to break that cycle. But that's why some of these videos, I want you to share these videos, because I want these young dudes to get this message. I want these young dudes to understand that prison is nowhere that you want to be. Nowhere at all that you want to be. So I want that message to go out, man. And that's why we doing these stories. So hopefully you share these stories and somebody get these messages and help somebody somewhere. But yeah, I can remember when I first met Dennis, man. Dennis was the first one that I met out of the brothers. And that right there in itself is just a crazy story, man. I'm going to try to paint the picture for y'all and tell you how it seemed from my point of view, from my perspective. I can remember when I first went to Augusta, man. It was the late 80s, man. It had to be in 87 or 88, somewhere up in that time frame. And I tried to tell y'all these time frames because somebody keep hitting me in the comments saying about the time frame. So whoever you are, I'm going to try to do my best, man, and try to keep that in mind as well. But this was like 80, 87, 88, somewhere up in that area. But I can remember when I first got on the compound, man, or when I hadn't first got on the compound because I was in another block at first. And then I ended up moving a couple of months later. And I went into the block that Dennis was in, Towns. We called him Towns. He went by his last name, actual Towns. So I can remember walking in the Towns block, man, and it was like a real big eye-opener to me because I was seeing things that I hadn't saw yet in prison. You know, at this point in time, I had been to Southampton Receiving, I had been to the Wall, and then I had landed on Augusta. So when I walk in that block, and I'm getting my cell assignment, which I ended up going in the cell with a homeboy. Dude was from the city, was from DC. Shout out to him. I can remember walking in there, man, and I'm gonna tell you the best word I could use to describe it was awe, man. I was just in awe because when I walked in, usually like when you walk in a new block anyway, it's like you checking out your surroundings, you looking around to see who's who, seeing the faces, trying to put things together, checking out the atmosphere, trying to get a feel of what's going on in the block, if there's any tension and all of that. That's something that I had already come accustomed to doing, just looking around and also making sure you ain't seen nobody in there you done probably had some beef with, either in the jail or since you've been in prison. So I can remember walking in that block, man, and I looked over. As I'm scanning the block, I see this dude sitting down with some jeans on and no shirt, got a little size on him, big bushy afro, and he actually had some peoples, which was the name. It was a several names they used for homosexuals in prison. I'm not trying to be offensive or whatever. I'm just telling you the culture of what was going on in prison. But they used to call the homosexuals either peoples or boys or whatever. So he had some peoples braiding his hair, a Caucasian boy, braiding his hair. He had another one with his feet kicked up, massaging his feet. And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And then another one came over to him and bought him a cup of coffee and handed him a cup of coffee. He took the cup of coffee and was sipping the coffee while getting his hair braided and getting his feet massaged. So my cellie come out to greet me, talk to me, introduce himself or whatever, and he see me looking over there. He was like, yeah, man, that's crazy, man. He said, that's dude named Towns over there. He said, them all his peoples right there. I say, what? He said, yeah, he got 3 of them, man. 2 of them stay in the cell together right beside him, and one of them stay in the cell with him. But yeah, all three of them is his. They belong to him. I was like, man, that is just insane, So he was like, yeah, he that's what he do. So I was just in awe of that because, like I say, I had never seen that. I had seen, ran into people's homosexuals since I had been locked up, but I had never seen that scene. I had never, because where I had been, like I say, receiving it in the Wall, and in the Wall we was more so confined during that time because they was doing all of that, coming off of a major lock where they had been locked down for years because of all the violence and the killing that was going on in the Wall. So we was coming out periodically doing shifts, and you only seen a certain amount of people, and you couldn't really interact with the whole institution as you would on major institutions at this time in the war. They was in transition. They was getting ready to close it down, and that's the way they was operating then. So like I say, this was like eye-opening to me because I hadn't seen that type of culture yet. But man, it was just it was crazy to me, and I can just remember, man, as I started coming out and getting familiar with the pod, getting familiar with the people that was in the block, and the dudes and the characters, and just checking out my surroundings. I can remember just watching him and seeing him, man. He came out every day. It was almost the same routine. He'd be talking to all three of them, and he'd be giving orders, telling them what to do. They did everything he said to do, when he said to do it, if he said to do it. That's what it was. So they be going getting them coffee, bringing them lit cigarettes, and he be at the poker table. He was a gambler. He'd be at the poker table gambling, and every now and then, they'd bring him a cigarette, go get him another hot cup of coffee, be talking to him, ask him what he need, do he need anything, and he'd be like, nah, I'm good, go ahead, and just shoo him away. So I just thought this character, man, was just, he just was a wild character because, like I say, I hadn't seen that. I didn't know what his philosophy was, what his mindset was, what his situation was, how much time he had, how long he had been in or whatever. I heard he had already been in for a minute, you know what I'm saying? As well as his brothers, all of them had already did a little time before I'm actually getting to know them or running across either one of them. But Towns was that type of dude, man, he was known to have a little danger with him. He had known, he already had used that Bethlehem. He will fight. He will definitely use that Bethlehem. And he was a quiet dude. For all intents and purposes, he was still quiet. He talked real low, and he was always quiet. He almost talked at a mumble where you couldn't even really hear what he had to say. You had to really get up on him to hear what he was saying. He was more or less like, yeah, man, yeah, man, thank you, man. You play poker, man. We be having good poker games in here, man. Yeah, you got to get with the poker thing, man. That type of voice, that's the way he talked. So you always be like, what you say? He's like, yeah, man, poker, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we be doing. We had good games in here, man. Ain't nobody doing nothing crazy, man. Just nice, good, legit games or whatever. So, that was his character. That was his persona. But when he talking to them peoples, he is more aggressive and he more like barking orders or whatnot. So they listened to everything he said and they didn't defy him under no means, not to my knowledge. You see what I'm saying? And he had a job whereas if I can remember correctly, I think on Augusta, they had it was either the shoe shop or the wood shop. But I think they had the shoe shop because Nottoway had the wood shop. They had the shoe shop, meaning they made all of the shoes that we wore in prison. We had these big old boots, leather boots or pleather boots or whatever you want to call them. And they had these big old rubber soles on the bottom of them. They was called state boots. Everybody wore them because it was circulated all over prison. That was the prison uniform. You get your jeans, you get your shirt, you get your socks, your underwear, whatever, and you get your state boots. And they made the boots in prison. They made them on Augusta, if I'm not mistaken. The Augusta had the boot shop, so they used to make the boots, and that was more or less considered like a different type of job. They got more money than they did on a regular state job. On the regular state job, you getting pennies, 23 cents, 30 cents. I think the highest always went up to like 45 cents an hour or something like that. But when you worked in that was considered an enterprise because that was an outside contractor coming in, but they made these state boots, man. They probably was over there making like $1.20 or something like that at the highest pay. So it was, in prison, that was good money. You know what I'm saying? That was good money right there. And he worked over there, which required him to be over there for hours at a time. They worked that job more like a regular job. They might be over there for 8 hours a day. So when he was over there 8 hours a day, his orders was for them to stay in the cell, don't come out the cell for nothing till he come back, and that's what they did. If they came out that cell, they went to get hot water or something and went back in that cell, came out, took a shower or something, went back in that cell. If they talked, they only talked amongst each other, each one of the three. That's how he ran his little harem or whatever you want to call it. But he ran it with an iron fist, and they knew that he wasn't playing. So as time went on and I'm getting to notice these things and watch these things, man, like I said, I was still in awe because it was just a new scene for me. But he stayed on the poker scene. He stayed gambling. He never really had too much beef or never had too many problems as far as I knew, because like I say, he was respected to a degree. You know, certain dudes looked at him in a certain way, but most of the dudes knew that if you dealt with him, then you probably had a problem. And they also knew and heard tell that, you know, he got two other brothers in the system somewhere, and they want to be played with. You know what I'm saying? Especially Hercules. They want to be played with. His name, Hercules' name rang in the system more than both of theirs. You know, his name was known in the system for a lot of things, and none of it was good. None of it was good. But his name rung in that system. I used to hear his name all the time, even, you know, like I say, from the beginning of me getting and receiving. But Towns, man, he was a wild character, man. He really was a wild character. Now, sometimes he get involved in them gambling games, and sometimes he get to lose. You know, and he'll lose and lose and lose. They call that in the breaks. He get in the breaks, he get to losing and keep on losing. But dudes won't stop gambling because they always trying to get back. They done lost a certain amount of money. They always feel like they just a good hand away from getting their money back. So sometimes they'll go borrow money. Sometimes they'll do whatever they got to do to get back in that game to try to get their money back. Man, I can remember one time it came, you know, he was in the breaks, man. He was losing. He was losing his shirt, man. He was losing like every day. So whatever type of inventory he had, it was depleting. You know, and I can remember one time he had lost so much, and the rumors and the words was going around the party. You know, he broke. He ain't got no more money, so he couldn't even really get in the games. And man, the next thing I know, they said that he is selling one of the boys. He's selling them, and I'm like, what? It was like, yeah, man, he's selling them, man. He's selling them. He's trying to sell them to somebody else to get them, somebody else to buy them, and he's selling them for like 50 kinds of cigarettes, right? 50 kinds of cigarettes. So I'm thinking in my mind, where they sell human beings at? This ain't slavery. But that's what they doing in there. You know what I'm saying? Lesson to you dudes out there that ain't never been to prison, especially you young dudes. It ain't no telling what's going to happen to you when you come in there. It ain't no telling whatsoever. So I implore you never to go to prison, never to put yourself in that situation. But anyway, I just remember that was going around, man, for like a day or two. And I asked my sales partner about it, whatever. He said, yeah, you know, that's common. You know, they do that sometimes, especially when they get in debt or whatever. So he ended up actually selling one of the boys to somebody else, a dude named B Square. He sold them to him for 50 kinds of cigarettes. So now he got more money. He back on top, pay off all his debts, and now he back gambling. He doing this thing like he ain't never missed a beat. But now he got two people instead of three, you know. And then on top of that, the person that he supposedly sold the dude to, B Square is in the block. So now the dude that was in the cell, his people that was in the cell together, now one of them moved out and they moved in there with B Square. B Square seller ended up moving in there with the other peoples that he had. So now, right beside him, he got his peoples and somebody else in the cell, and he got his peoples that's in the cell with him. Now, when something like that happened, he don't supposed to have no more communication with the people that he sold because it's no longer, you know, quote unquote, his property. So that's how it was. So I can remember seeing them all together, and now I see the other people just associating just with who they with, B Square. They don't even talk to the other two boys that he had. You know what I'm saying? And all of this stuff, like I say, is culture shock to me because I wasn't used to it. But I can remember, like I say, my eyes used to always scan everything, and I used to always try to process all information so I could know what's going on around me. So I can remember just watching the whole scenario unfold, and I was just like in awe about the whole situation, man. Maybe too because I was so young and I was so green in prison. You know, later on during the years, I seen more and more stuff like this where it wasn't so shocking to me. But at that time right there, it was shocking to me. You know what I'm saying? Just the dynamics of what was going on with human life. You know what I'm saying? And the value that was put on human life and how people was actually living in prison. And in prison, it was normal. It was normal. It was like it was nothing, you know. Only people that it was shocking to was young people like me, or people that was younger than me, or people that was just coming into prison as I was. I was only a couple of years removed from the streets. So yeah, it was crazy as I don't know what, man. And it just was a wild scene, man. So I used to watch Towns then, man. And I even seen him, in the poker games and stuff, getting arguments or whatever. And he'll usually just be quiet because he got a low voice, but he'll be firm at what he's saying. If he's saying something, he's firm. They argue about hands all the time in poker. Like I told you, them poker stories, man, that poker ain't no joke. That poker is dangerous. That poker is chaos. That poker is larceny. That poker will get you killed. That poker will get you poked, Maybe that's why they even call it poker. That poker will get you poked with that Bethlehem. So I can remember him, having a few disputes at the poker table, and what he would do, 9 times out of 10, he'll say what he had to say. Somebody else will say what they had to say, and then next thing he'll peel off and go to his cell. He'll be in his cell about 10 minutes, and he'll come back out, and you can already know he got that Bethlehem on him because he's just staying to the side and he just watching. And people be trying to talk to him like, what's going on, woo, woo, woo. Because you need to know what's happening when somebody's in that type of stance. And he be like, and ain't nothing, I ain't got nothing to talk about. I just want my money. You know what I'm saying? He's saying he won the hand. I saying I won the hand. I want my money. House man gonna have to straighten the money or something. I got to have my money before I go in there and say it. So they'll get to negotiating and doing whatever. I remember that one incident that I remember just more clearly in my memory. That went down. But Towns ended up getting his money because, like I say, dudes know that he will put that work in and push come to shove. Now you know his character and you know what type of dude he is and the type of respect that he receiving, but still at the same time, you had super gangsters in there. Like I told you, remember my man Chucky? I told y'all about the story about Chucky. If y'all ain't watched the video about Chucky, you know what I'm saying, Chucky Pal, y'all go back and watch it. Chucky was a gangster amongst gangsters. When I told y'all the story one time about a money dispute, and Chucky walked up in the cell on the dude and told me to hold him down, and he ain't got on nothing but the slippers in the box, and he walked up in there and dude got the knife. That was Towns. That was Towns. And Chucky faced him down and stirred him down, and he got the knife in his hand. He got that Bethlehem with him, and Chucky ain't got nothing but this, and this. And Chucky, stood his ground and told him what he had to tell him, spoke to him greasy, whatever, and walked out the cell. And at the end of the day, Towns paid what he had to pay because he ain't really want that smoke with Chucky. And just like I told y'all before, when you got killers in that system or anywhere in life, I would assume, killers don't want to deal with killers. You see what I'm saying? If it can be negotiated, if it can be worked out, it's going to be worked out because one thing about it, if two killers could collide or they run into each other, somebody got to die. That's the definition of a killer. So if it don't die, some type of respect is going to be lost on both sides. Oh, he ain't like that. Oh, he ain't like that. So, they try to avoid each other for whatever sake of whether you call it fear, whether you call it reputation, whatever it is, they try to avoid each other. If by chance that don't happen in their class, somebody usually get hurt real bad. Somebody usually, lose their life and or come close to it. So, like I say, Chucky was a gangster amongst gangsters. Chucky was fearless. He had a big heart and definitely wasn't scared of nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I remember that incident, and it was definitely with Towns because I was right there on the scene. But like I say, Towns will do something though because later on, I don't know, maybe it's been like a year later, same thing. He going through some money problems and he keep getting in these losing streaks, whereas he ain't got nothing. And he can't provide for himself or the peoples that he's dealing with. So some type of way, something went on whereas to the two boys that he had, they done got sick and tired of him or sick and tired of the situation, and other people been trying to get with him, so they done plotted themselves, behind his back while he going to work, that they done came up to the conclusion that they gonna get away from him. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to be with him no more. And in penitentiary, that's a deadly situation because you ain't gonna leave the man until he say you can leave. You see what I'm saying? But evidently they came up with their own plan. They had plotted or whatever, and they said they was gonna get away. So one day while Towns at work, they done, put in their slips or whatever, did what they had to do, holler at whatever CO or administration that they had to holler at, that they wanted to get moved, and they wanted to get moved as soon as possible. So while Towns at work, the boy that's in the cell with him get moved. The one that's in the cell next door to him get moved too. Not only did they get moved, they didn't get moved in the block. They got moved outside of the block all the way to another block, right? Whereas, so they not in there with us no more. So you actually can't see them until it's rec call on the rec yard or either probably in the chow hall or something like that. So I can remember Towns coming back from work, man, and you talking about mad and you talking about in a fit of rage. And he come back and see that cell door empty, man, then go next door and look in there and ask dude where the people's at. He said they moved. You know what I'm saying? He go to the booth, ask him where his cell at. He said they moved to. He asked them where. They said, well, I don't know. They just moved. You know what I'm saying? Woo, woo, woo. Man, he going crazy up in there. He don't know what to do. So I'm like, oh, Lord, this right here finna be crazy as I don't know what. So he pacing all around the block, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, and don't nobody really know what's on his mind or what he going through or what's what, but everybody know that it's probably gonna be some drama coming behind this. So sure enough, the next day when we go out on the yard, they call rec call, yard call or whatever, the man don't even go to work. He out on the yard trying to find out, sending word where the people's at, woo, woo, woo. Tell him come out on the yard, he want to talk to him. They didn't come out there, you know, obviously, you know what I'm saying? But I think it was within a week later, man, they out on the yard, and I don't know what type of mind frame they had, whether they was, you know, figuring like they could, you know, do something to him, or they could stand their ground to him, or explain to him, or give him some type of logic of why they left, so that he would understand, and it won't lead to no type of, you know, violence or chaos. It ain't worked that way. It ain't worked that way. Man, he was out there on that yard, and them two peoples came out there, and they walked up to him, and they talking to him, and I'm from afar, I'm all the way on the other side of the yard, but I remember somebody said, man, oh, there go Towns and them peoples, something going down. So I'm looking over there like everybody else. So you can see them talking from a distance as if it's just like a conversation. Hands and stuff moving, but it's a conversation. And then the next thing you know, man, I don't know what they was thinking about, but one of them it just amazed me. One of them just took off and punched him. Boom. And the other one was scrambling like they was trying to get to him too. But the punch ain't had no effect because Towns just took like a step back, and the next thing you know, he pulled that Bethlehem out and
The banking special.
yeah,
Pure deliciousness.
pure deliciousness, man.
My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts.